All right. Hello, everyone. Whether it's your morning, maybe in US, or your afternoon time in Europe, or your later evening in APEC, I'm very happy to to be here to provide a presentation about Sensoneo alternative solutions to the level management, as well as show you particular applications within waste and also beyond waste. So we'll go through the presentation. It will have two sections. The one will be focused on waste management. Another one would be focused on beyond waste. Just to introduce myself, my name is Peter Knas. I'm a senior sales manager in Sensoneo, particularly taking care of Asia Pacific and the US market. So let's start with the presentation. As you probably already know, Sensoneo as a company, we focus on waste and managing waste smarter, particularly managing the waste level in the bins or containers, managing pickups, routing, and also making sure that the solution which we provide gives you opportunity to reduce operational costs and make your work much easier during your operation process. Okay, so as I mentioned, that waste is our particular focus vertical in this case. So we do focus our development software and hardware specifically for containers that in most of the cases for our vertical would be dealing with waste, certain kind of waste, but it's not the the limitation for us. So we are also trying to find another applications where we can apply our sensors and also where we can apply our software so that we can make a life of people, companies, or public sector much more easier, and offer this kind of operational efficiency and control over your particular asset or of whatever is inside that asset. So today we will talk about two different use cases. One is waste. Another is beyond waste use case. There will be several, I believe, interesting information that I will show and share to you. So we'll start with waste case, then we'll have a very short break, maybe a minute or maximum two, for you to ask some questions. Please feel free to put your questions into the chat section of YouTube, and we'll get through them in the middle of the presentation for waste use cases, and later on after finishing the presentation on the alternative use cases. So please feel free to write your questions as I'm going through the presentation, and then I will do the summary of those later on. So let's jump on the first one and first use case from the waste section. Prior to doing that, I'm sorry, I will skip to another thing that is very interesting kind of teaser of what you will hear in this presentation. So imagine you have, you're a management company managing portable toilets, or you are a construction company which is using portable toilets on the construction side, or it can be a festival which is held by private organization or municipality. You like to have them clean all the time. You like to have them well managed. You don't want to have people on site all the time, especially for construction sites, but you want to provide on-time cleaning and on-time emptying of those portable toilets. So this is a great application for level sensor, which will, make the life of the cleaners much easier, but also especially in this COVID-19 situation where everyone talks about hygiene and how important it is. You don't want to have a construction worker to feel discomfort going to the portable toilet. So, these kind of essential services can be, guaranteed and maintained while using those ultrasonic sensors that can provide the data that will help you to manage them on time. So this is very interesting application. I will have that slide later on, but I wanted to give you this kind of a teaser prior to getting to those sections as well. So let's start with the waste. So we start with more conservative, or I would say more common options. So these are mostly indoor bins, which are a little bit smaller than would be a regular public collection bins, and they can be allocated in the shopping malls, they can be in the offices, in public buildings, and also, these kind of bins we can find, for different purposes, to collect recyclables or different kind of commodities. So our level sensor can fit in. Particularly, I would recommend to use a single sensor. There are, few of the bins which we are not able to accommodate with a single sensor as is. So we developed a new product which is called single sensor split, where we split the resonators and the rest of the electronics, so that the tiny resonator part can fit into the top part of the bin, and then the rest of electronics can put to different position, and so we can get very good readings, and we do not interrupt with the design of the bin. So particularly if we have beautiful bins in the shopping malls, we can still use a single sensor split to accommodate and provide level management. With our sensors, you can actually preset how many times per day you would like to have the measurement done. So you can do up to 24 times per day, meaning every hour, or you can set it, for example, 6 times a day if you would like to, save a little bit on battery. So this is very useful application also for this kind of areas, particularly for the maintenance of the buildings, so that you got it clean, you got it maintained. You don't have people putting bottles or putting trash on the bin because it's full, especially not in indoor area. When we go to the next one, so we'll see some public bins, meaning park bins or street bins. So it's the same kind of approach as we had on the indoor bins. It's just that these are usually, or in most cases, a little bit bigger, and we see these as a very good and suitable category for our sensor, mainly because often they are in management of the municipality, and the municipality is responsible to keep the sites clean. You can imagine, the bins on the beach. You don't want to have bins full, or the garbage just being blown away by wind along the beach, because it just provides a very bad reputation to the city services as well. The same can happen in the parks. Same can happen in the cultural heritage sites or the city centers, etc., etc. So having the bins controlled by the sensor and doing on-time pickup is very essential in these kind of cases. Then we go, as you see, we go bigger and bigger. So now we are in a regular residential bins category, where we see, okay, these are a little bit bigger, mostly for apartment buildings, which the bins that can accommodate different commodities. You can see the bin can be for glass, for plastic. For glass particularly, we often see these kind of bell-shaped bins, especially in Europe. So you can imagine that there are many different shapes of the bins, but our sensors can actually be used and accurately measure in different type of containers. Also, the extra feature which we provide is the pickup recognition. So the pickup recognition can be done based on data, but also based on hardware recognition, meaning there is an accelerometer inside the sensor that can recognize when the bin was tilted to the truck. But on top of that, we also can recognize a vertical pickup. So for example, this bell-shaped bin is lifted using a small crane on the vehicle and is emptied from downwards. So it's a vertical pickup. So we can recognize both type of pickups in order to have accurate data in the system, further use for the analysis and optimization of the pickup period or pickup frequencies. Next category would be with semi-underground bins. Semi-underground bins actually are becoming more and more popular, especially in very dense areas. So instead of having 10 different bins or for general waste nearby certain apartment buildings, plus another recyclable bins, you just put these high capacity semi-underground bins to a small stand, and you can cover much more capacity as if you would have deployed, let's say, 10 or 15 other individual bins, which add you to more collection frequency and also more bins to be managing. So having these kind of semi-underground bins is very valuable for the collection company and also for municipality. And because these are being filled up much slower than would be a small bin, particularly when we are handling recyclables, having the information about the level is really essential to well planning of the pickup. So having the single sensor or our Quattro sensor inside, it's essential for the efficient service. So Quattro sensor is much bigger than the single sensor. It has 4 ultrasonic resonators and is doing 4 measurements at a time, putting the data together, and you will get the level data up in the system. So you can measure with Quattro sensor up to 4.5 meters. So in case you would have a bin that is 4 meter deep with a very high capacity, you can still use Quattro sensor. Single sensor is suitable for I would say medium level depths, so up to 2.53 meters the single sensor can cope well. Okay. Then we are getting even bigger with this kind of application, which is more focused on the commercial waste. Being a huge supermarket like Walmart in US or Tesco's or Carrefour in Europe, so they would have compactor bins where they would be loading the garbage individually. So compactor bin is having a compacting unit which is pushing the waste towards the back door or towards the back wall of the compactor bin, and is compacting it, so the waste starts accumulating from back here. And so placement of the sensor on the front wall facing to the end is very good option and can provide pretty accurate measurements of the level, so that we can estimate when roughly the container or the compactor would be full. So this is application particularly good for Quattro sensor. So we would recommend Quattro sensor having inside. Also, if you have found out that some of the bins which I presented, they are full metal structure, including this compactor. So we need to consider that signal level is very important in these cases. Sensoneo differs from our competitors by actually really caring about this and having an option to connect external antenna to the sensor. Of course, this we need to know upfront, so we can provide the extra connector and cable to match the sensor with a possibility to have external antenna connected. But it's very convenient, particularly for metal container environments. You know that metal creates no signal or no signal space, so it's like a Faraday cage where signal cannot penetrate out or in. Therefore, having external antenna is very valuable in these kind of cases. Okay, now we are moving to a little bit more interesting type of commodities. So everyone probably have one or two old cell phones somewhere in the drawer, a few spare or old batteries, some old electronics, and what we are really struggling with is to find where to actually safely dispose them. So there are already multiple waste collectors that focus on e-waste, and ASECOL is one of them, especially in Central Europe area. So we do support ASECOL with ultrasonic sensors, having the sensor for the actual big capacity waste or bigger units, plus also having the control of the batteries as well. So this kind of bin is fully metally enclosed. It's certified against minor explosions as well, in case there is a battery exploding inside. Also, it's fireproof. But our sensor also do have a temperature sensor inside, so we can recognize when the temperature is raising up very fast, and it's reaching certain threshold, for example 70 degrees or 80 degrees. We can notify or we can put the alarm in the system that will notify the operator that this bin might be on fire, or there might be a fire inside because the temperature exceeds a certain level. Those levels, of course, can be preset by a particular customer as well. Again, this kind of bin is a vertical pickup, so you can see how important it is to be able to recognize when the pickup was done, not only based on the data, but also based on the hardware recognition. So having a hook here, the bin is lifted onto the garbage truck, so the pickup is done vertically. Another category, and many of you probably encountered these kind of bins on the street, or many of you have actually used them. So clothing and shoe recycling is becoming more and more popular. Especially it's a part of the charity, it's part of the sustainability programs, and people are really happy to be involved in such a program. Especially they would consider themselves as being, it's a pity to throw still usable clothes or usable materials just to the regular garbage. So many people, especially during this COVID-19 home office, spend some time to do some cleaning. You probably throw away some clothes. I'm not sure whether you were able to find the nearest bin, but if Sensoneo is in your location, you probably would be able to find it on the map of the provider of the service. And also you would probably not find it completely full if the level sensor is inside, and you would be able to comfortably drop the clothing inside without any issues. The issue is happening when the bin is getting full, because then it's being overcrowded, then the people would be throwing the bags on the side of it. So it's always good to have these controlled, especially because people are irregularly placing items inside. It's not like a general waste that can be somehow predicted based on certain weekly cycle. Okay, another interesting category would be certain special bins for particular dangerous waste. So one of them are needles or sharps. So these are the dangerous waste containers usually deployed at the moment in US. We can see them somewhere in parks as well, or city area. It's not only targeted for people addicted to drugs, but also to people actually having diabetes and would like to dispose safely whatever waste or sharps they would have to dispose there. So yeah, this is very good idea, and I believe that it's also essential to actually monitor those kind of bins, because you don't want to having them full or having the lid stuck there, preventing something preventing it to close. So this is essential also from safety point of view as well. Okay, next category, that's another type of waste, and it's excess fuel or excess oil from fryers or similar kind of machines, usually being collected by restaurants. So it's also completely enclosed container. In certain cases, external antenna would be needed for the level measurement. Also, these also, I would like to highlight that we are not only focused on solid waste. Our ultrasonic sensors can also measure liquid waste or different kind of liquids, also different kind of materials. So I would say we don't limit ourselves in terms of material. Our level sensor is working perfectly for different kind of materials as well. And we also do have certain smoothing and recognition algorithms for specific type of waste, for example glass and so on. So fry to fuel, very good category, big opportunity, especially in US. We haven't seen too much of the traction of these in Europe, but I believe that this kind of collection is also happening, or would be happening in the future as well. This kind of bin, which you can see now on the presentation, is actually disposal for prescription and recreational drugs. This is another small type of bin usually we can see at the airports. Particularly, again, use case in US, where the prescription drugs, you cannot take them on the plane, you cannot export them to another countries, but prior to getting on the plane you would like to safely dispose them, rather than flashing down the toilet or throwing it to the garbage. You can safely dispose them, and they are then processed appropriately and responsibly. So it's a good idea. Again, it's irregular collection. So in irregular collection, where you cannot see the content of the bin, you don't want to open the bin just to check how full it is. It's better if you really have a level sensor there, which can inform you when the bin gets to the level ready for collection. All right, so we are through the half of the webinar. So I hope that it's going well for you, and if you would be interested and you will have some questions, I'm here to answer them. So please just let me know, and I will spend around 1 to 2 minutes here looking at the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If there are no questions, just take a rest. Okay, so SEAD Ingenieria SAS, there is one question. If the level sensors are available for tank water level monitoring, we'll get to that, and you will see that on the slide. So yes, so please keep stay here with us, and you will get your question answered. Of course, if you would have any detailed question to add to it, feel free to ask it, and I will reply it in the next question window. All right, so seems there are no more questions to the first part of the session. Of course, it's more limited to waste only, and the interesting part is actually just starting now. So let's just go for it, and let's talk about the details of those next applications later on. So let's start with the first one right away. Secure document shredding containers. These containers are really robust metal containers, usually placed in offices, can be governmental buildings, banks, and insurance companies that are really dealing with confidential documents on daily basis. And because they have so many of them, they usually would use shredding services to help them to process these documents. For those, they would have this kind of containers. These kind of containers normally are not being monitored, but with our sensor we can enable the level management, and we can actually monitor the level of the accumulated documents inside. You don't want to have a guy peeking through the hole or opening the container just for checking how full it is. It's always better to have them monitored, have them safely and confidentially enclosed, and being serviced only when they are full. Being a shredding company, that would be just a very valuable extra benefit to any of my customers, and I believe banks and even governmental offices would be happy to know that, okay, these shredding containers would be maintained on time, so they would not get overfilled. So single sensor is great for this. In a case of having that signal penetration on the lower level, we can apply external antenna, but single sensor would be sufficient for this kind of application. You can see also example of the mounting here of the single sensor. So this is particular case which we had with one of the banks in Europe. All right, getting to all the sustainability programs and consciousness about responsibly treating the garbage. Many of the clothing retailers, they would be looking for these kind of initiatives, and one of them also apply this kind of bins where you can throw the old clothing right in the store. So this is just an example which usually it works more as a PR for these people, but the companies deploying these kind of containers, they also need to have them emptied on time. They don't want to have them full because it's not looking well. Also, they don't want their regular stuff that is actually serving the store or serving the customers in the store to be checking whether the bin is full or not. So it's much smarter solution to implement the bin inside, to implement the sensor inside. All right, so we got to water tank level monitoring. So water tanks, it doesn't necessarily need to be this type of water tank. It can be much bigger water tank somewhere on the farm, or it can be somewhere at the factory, or even residential buildings to provide a backup drinking water or utility water for people living inside. So water tanks are a vertical where our sensors can work pretty well. Usually they are mounted under the top lid, and then basically, depending on the material of the actual water tank, we either use with a good penetration of the signal, or we use external antenna. For our case, also I would like to highlight to you that our sensors are completely waterproof up to IP67 level. We have also passed just 2 days ago a single sensor IP69 level certification. So we are very well positioned for deploying our sensors to this kind of environments. Another application is very similar, but it's still slightly different. So this is a retention tanks for rainwater. So in the streets, or when you have a building, you want to collect excess water from the rainfall, and you don't want the water to flood your pathway or flood your road. So especially in more dry areas, you would deploy water retention tanks. And having a sensor in the water retention tank has actually two use cases, where one of them, you are checking whether there is still water inside, especially if you are using it for some like watering of the plants, or certain other purposes. But another case would be to be checking when the actually retention tank is full, because you don't want to get your road flooded, or your pathway flooded, or even certain area around your building. So you need to check on both things, and our sensor can provide this kind of service. And through our platform, you can see all the data. Again, it's a matter of frequency of the measurements that you would like to utilize, where the maximum is 24 times a day. Okay, this is a great application with bug returns. So these kind of containers for bug returns, we can find them in every single library. They are either indoors or outside of the library. Many times they are outside, because the library don't want too many people to be gathering in front of the entry. So they would be collecting the books this way, and having the sensor inside has a very high value, because once the library bin is getting filled up with books, the first thing is that it's hard for you to put extra books inside. So what students or people would usually do, they will be just pushing the book inside, just to make sure that some of the books can fall down to the back of the bin, and that your book can still get inside. And in this case, those books are getting destroyed, and the value is gone, and probably they would need to put some of the books off the library system, just because they are destroyed. There were also cases where actually people were putting the books on the top of the bin, while when the bin is outdoors and it starts raining, then it's not very good as well. So having a small notification to the library staff that, okay, please empty me, that would be great. And having the sensor inside to execute this kind of functionality is actually really worth for every single library. Okay, and this is another completely different category. So we are coming from smaller containers, bins, up to the big containers, and up to the shipping containers, which can be parked somewhere in the yard, or can be in some container transfer facility, or can be just a part of certain private company management, which want to actually manage which companies are full, which are empty, and you know, they would like to do that without having people, you know, opening them, and just use the sensor just to make sure that, okay, how many empty containers do I have? How many loaded containers do I have? Also to prevent any mix-up in the container yard. So, you know, this kind of solution is actually very cost efficient for them, comparing to you know, mislocating the cargo or the container with which is full of cargo. So that's very important. And also, sensor has a fire alarm, which provides them kind of a security of cargo inside. So this is another benefit of having the sensor inside the container. To be frank, we have not deployed any of the containers previously, but we consider that as a target vertical for the future. So we see opportunity in this kind of space as well. Another one, and this is the actual case that we have been involved with and we deployed in you know, multiple vehicles, in hundreds of vehicles, are the long haul trucks. So particularly when they are managed by a certain company, or when the loaders are managed by a certain company, they would like to know you know, whether the truck is moving empty or whether the truck is moving with the cargo. They just want to understand you know, whether there is something or whether there is nothing. Also, it happens time to time in Europe that the driver would actually, you know, without particular contract or without agreement, take a cargo of someone just because he was planned to go empty from place A to place B. So you know, to prevent this kind of behavior, having a sensor inside the loader is actually very useful for these companies. So that's another nice application which we have found. Laundry baskets. We had inquiries and you know, small trials for laundry baskets in hotels, but these can also work for some of the big, you know, laundry companies as well. That would be collecting different laundry from multiple hotels, for example, where the sensor would be deployed on the chute, in the chute here, and would be targeted downwards. So you will be measuring actually the container below the chute. Once it's getting full, you just get it emptied. The same kind of application can be actually deployed if you have apartment buildings and you have a chutes for waste in those apartment buildings. So you can actually monitor that container for waste, you know, where all the garbage is diverted from the individual apartments. So this is an interesting application as well. A single sensor would be absolutely perfect for this. Okay, and we got to our favorite application, which are portable toilets. So for maybe someone who missed the beginning of the webinar, the portable toilets is a very good application, especially if you want to create, you know, first thing operational efficiency, but also comfort, and prevent certain hygienical issues by, you know, having the portable toilets overcrowded, you know, overflowing. It's often very big problem. So maybe you have experienced that. I had. You don't want to get into the portable toilet which is completely full once you open a lid. So having the sensor inside to monitor and to measure the level is very valuable for multiple kind of locations. As I mentioned, it can be a festival which needs much more often you know, cleaning and maintenance, or it can be a construction site where the period doesn't need to be you know, so often, but it needs to be on time. And the next, and a little bit related topic, would be septic tanks, and that's another big category of opportunities. Again, if you have a house and you don't have a canalization system, you still would use a septic tank. Septic tank is installed there. You don't want to open it. You don't want to get into it. You would be the most happiest person if you just get a notice that, okay, your septic tank is getting full. You just call the service, they come, they empty it without you even touching it. And that's the purpose of having a sensor inside the septic tank. So I think it's a great application, and it can create a lot of opportunities in your regions, I believe. Very interesting application we have encountered, particularly in Malaysia with Post Office, so with Post Malaysia, where they would like to recognize whether there is a single letter inside or not. So having this kind of application allows you to really optimize your operational cost, because you can imagine huge company like the post office usually is, they would be collecting letters from thousands of post boxes in the area of maybe tens of thousands of square kilometers. You can imagine how many human resources they need to deploy to go and check every single post box every single day. So having that the amount of letters is always decreasing in recent days because of digitalization, it's really inefficient for them to do this check every day. So having a sensor inside is very valuable. And how we have deployed that, actually, it's very interesting, because ultrasonic sensor usually cannot recognize if you have a very tiny kind of material on the bottom of the bin. But what we have done is that we have calibrated the setup the way that there is an audio foam that would be actually absorbing some of the waves from the ultrasonic, meaning that creating a fake depth of the actual bin. So this way, once there is a letter on the top, it creates an effect that there shall be extra depth below it. So it will define that once you drop even single letter inside, you will get to, let's say, 30 or 40% of the fill level of the post box. So this is very interesting application, and really turn around the whole operational efficiency system in the huge or gigantic company like a post office usually is. Okay, and we're getting to our last one, and once we get over these, I would be also expecting from you to come back to us that, okay, I have another idea, and maybe there is another application that we can use the sensor in. So I would be really happy for this kind of feedback as well. So the last one, we have silos here. So silos are everywhere. They are for different kind of purposes. They will be storing a salt to be doing a winter maintenance of the roads, or small stones. There can be storing crops on the farms, or in certain villages, or it can have certain chemicals for particular factories. So there is a really huge market in silos. What we have actually done is that we slightly managed to tune a firmware of our Quattro sensor to the way that it can measure up to 9 meters. So this opens us a huge opportunity in this sector, because suddenly our sensor from maximum 4.5 meters can measure double the distance. So we can also get into these tall silos measurement as well. Another thing is that our sensors are using ultrasonic, so they are much less sensitive to any dusty environment or dirty environment, because they are not optical sensors. Optical sensors, you need to clean, you need to wipe the lens in order to get an accurate measurement. With ultrasonic sensor, it's much more resistance to any dust accumulation. So again, the level sensor would be on the top, of course, a top lid from the inside, and if needed, depending on the material of the silo, we can have an external antenna implemented as well. So particularly, I would say in farming location or more remote location, actually having external antenna would be a good idea in order to get a proper coverage. Although we are seeing more and more LoRa network deployment as well in the farming areas too. So that's a great application, and I believe that you would definitely find someone who would be interested to try and to possibly implement that in your region. All right, so thank you very much for listening. It was a pleasure. If you have any question, even after this session, or you would find out, about certain market that you would like to share with us, or you found an application that you think you have a customer for, just let us know. You either contact your representative that already serving you, or drop me an email, and I will either contact you directly, or someone from the team will contact you for me. So I'll just get back to the YouTube questions and see whether there are any interesting questions here. So I will give you some time. There are no new questions as yet. All right, so I see there are no further questions on me. So I really thanks a lot for attending and listening. Also, if you have any feedback that you would like, you have some suggestion how the webinar shall be organized, or if you are satisfied or not, I would be happy to get any feedback from you, and hopefully that we can keep in touch, and we can try to grow business together. So thanks a lot again, and wish you a very good day, and hope very soon we have weekend here, so enjoy the weekend as well with your families. Thank you.